If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. Did I say free? There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. I personally like Google Podcasts a lot, but I also like Spotify. So any of those podcast sites, it will be distributed to. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And make sure you download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's that easy. Hello and welcome to another episode of March 31 Poetry. As I continue my 28 days of poetry with you, today's poem is inspired by the recent events and the death of Tyre Nichols in Memphis. It struck me the other day as I was watching something and a news program was talking about how Dr. Martin Luther King was also shot and killed in Memphis. And another news program mentioned that Tyre had only just moved to Memphis, I feel like a few years ago, to be closer to his mother. He was not living there, but he lived there to build his family. He had, I believe, a 4-year-old child there before he died, and his mother was there, and family still living there. And he also was a photographer and a skateboarder. So as they talked about his funeral yesterday and talked about, the different people who came to show honor to him, I thought about these things and the irony of the fact that Dr. King did not live in Memphis, but was there to speak to people and to raise the consciousness of people and to, help people get a better life in America in terms of, and fight against racism and all of those things. And so I am inspired by my poem this morning by those two things, the life of Tyre Nichols and the life of Dr. Martin Luther King, and the fact that they both lost their lives in Memphis. So my poem this morning is called Memphis to Die, and it's another 6-word poem in my 28 Days of Poetry Challenge. Memphis to Die. Memphis to die, Martin and Tyre. Now that might seem like a simple poem, 6 simple words, but that's what popped in my head, and that's what I had been thinking about ever since I saw those news stories. So I hope that causes you to think on some of these things that have been happening. And that is all for today. Thank you for listening, and make sure you click the subscribe button. Thank you.